Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Tchaikovsky's Eugene Onegin, which was shown at the Komische Oper Berlin. The conductor was Henryk Nanasi, the production was done by Barry Kosky, the set design was handled by Rebecca Ringst, the costumes were done by Klaus Bruns, the dramaturgy was handled by Simon Berger, the chorus master was David Cavelius, and the lights were handled by Frank Evan. Now, you already know that this opera was also based on the novella done by Alexander Pushkin, and this is also one of the most popular Russian operas of all time. So I'm just going to cut straight to the chase with what I thought about the production, the singers, and the conducting. Now, I really love the production of this opera. I love all the trees that are in the scenery. I love it that it's also set on a field with green grass. It just screams lush. That was just pretty much the production in one word. Lush. Everything about it. From the trees, from the grass fields, from everything. And even from the lighting itself, and even to the final scene in which it also takes place in, let's say, Prince Gremin's gazebo. I really enjoyed the hell out of all the backdrops, all the scenery, and just everything else in between. And the costumes were elegant, yet maintain a sense of simplicity, which I really enjoyed. And they were all colorful, elegant, and just vibrant. So I'm not going to mince words here. The production was absolutely gorgeous, especially when it came to the final scene in which it was also raining as well, which really does see the emptiness of Onegin's heart. And you could really feel that excited for that ending. And sure, it might be cliche to some, but I enjoyed it. So, as I said before, the production and the costumes were just extremely elegant. And now let's get on to the singers, starting off with Tatyana, sung by a soprano I've been following from time to time and actually heard her name several times. And now that I've gotten to hear her live, I really have to say that this was definitely fantastic. She is none other than Asmik Grigoryan. Now, Asmik Grigoryan was a singer I have been hearing a lot of, and I've been hearing a lot of stuff about her, that she's been very well known for singing a lot of the full lyric and the spinto soprano repertoire, from the Italian roles to some of the French roles, and even to some of the German roles, and even to her Russian roles, in which she's been very well known for. And I really have to say that she was wonderful as Tatyana. Everything about her was just so flawlessly done. You could really sense everything that makes Tatyana a very well-rounded character. You could sense that she has not only charm, but also a sense of fragility, a sense of longing, and a sense of passion that she badly has in her own heart. You could really see that so much, and it's so ingrained into this wonderful soprano that I was just so awestruck. And her voice was a cascade of pearls pouring out from her mouth. Everything from her high notes to her middle notes to her low notes, they all sounded homogeneous, they all sounded clean, and her technique was absolutely secure. It was flawless. However, there was one thing I kind of didn't really care for in her final moments of the letter scene, in which she was like slapping herself silly. I get that this was also to show Tatyana as a very insecure young woman who is just not so sure how she's going to handle herself, especially when meeting Onegin. But despite that, I really have to say that she really gave such a well-rounded and a very thrilling and very emotional portrayal of this really wonderful heroine, helped by a very, very wonderful voice and a very clear timbre that is so homogeneous throughout all the registers and very superb acting as she was able to play really well off of her colleagues and even give off such an emotional portrayal that I was totally immersed from beginning to end. She did not disappoint. She was able to really make Tatyana a very multidimensional character, starting off with her girlish charms and then working up all the way with her being a fully realized woman. And then we get to her younger sister, Olga, sung by Karolina Gumosh, who's been very well known throughout this opera house. And in fact, I also saw her singing the role of Smeraldina about 2 years ago from Stravinsky's The Love of Three Oranges in this very opera house as well. I thought she managed to sing Olga fabulously. She was able to be quite the contrast to Asmik Grigorian's bookish and very, very closed and almost isolated Tatyana. She was able to make Olga a very vivacious, charming, lively, pretty thing of a person that she was just lovely. She was able to hold the audience in the palm of her hand, and in fact, her chemistry with Asmik Grigorian was so believable that you really could see that they are sisters, almost like twin sisters. You get Asmik Grigorian's Tatyana, who is bookish and very much reserved and calm, whereas with Karolina Gumosh's Olga, she's livelier, she's vivacious, and she's quite feisty sometimes. And her voice is as secure as it ever can be and very homogeneous throughout all the registers. She is a pure joy to watch as Olga. She has such a very fine technique, she has a very secure voice, and her acting is so thrilling. And then we get to their mother, Madame Larina, who is sung by Christiane Urtel, who I've seen a lot of productions, when she sang at the Komische Oper. She's a veteran at this opera house, and with her as Madame Larina, I really have to say that this mezzo contralto managed to really pour her heart out as well in such a very thankless role. She has a very secure technique, she has a very fine and velvety voice, and her acting is really well done. I really have to say that Madame Urtel managed to make the best out of a very thankless mezzo character. And then we get the role of the old nurse, Filipievna, sung by a veteran Russian mezzo-soprano, Margarita Nekrasova, who's been very well known for singing the likes of the contralto role of the first Norn from Götterdämmerung, all the way up to the more mezzo roles like Herodias from Salome, and even the high mezzo role of Elisabetta from Maria Stuarda. I really have to say that Madame Nekrasova's voice is secure, it has a very fine timbre to it, and it almost reminds me of Elena Obraztsova and many other Russian mezzos of the past, because what I seem to notice about a lot of Russian dramatic mezzos is that they have a certain Slavic timbre to their voice. They have a certain smokiness, a certain type of roughness and edge to their voice, which makes them kind of distinguishable. In fact, it also traces back to the likes of Elena Nicolai as well. It's rather noticeable, yet you could also tell that she's also a veteran when it comes to a lot of the Russian dramatic mezzo and Russian dramatic contralto roles. You could really tell that she's at her A game in this role as well. She managed to make Filipievna, the nanny, a very loving and a very caring and a very fun character to boot as well, which is also helped by her very round and rich voice, which was such a pleasure to listen to. And then we get to our main hero, Onegin himself, sung by a baritone I've never heard of before, but thank goodness I managed to see him live, and That is none other than Günther Papendel. Wow, what a voice he had. Reading his repertoire, I could tell that he also specialized in a lot of the lyric baritone repertoire. But these days, he's also been working his way up to the more dramatic baritone roles, the likes of Fritz Kotner from Die Meistersinger von Nürnberg, Paolo Albiani from Simon Boccanegra, Escamillo from Carmen, and many, many other baritone roles. Heck, I'm sure that he is going to make a fabulous Germont in the near future, and maybe even a fabulous Iago from Otello, and even Rigoletto. Who knows? Time will tell for this wonderful, wonderful baritone. He has a certain buoyance and a certain charm and a certain roguish charm to this character. He was absolutely excellent, not only as a singer, but also as an actor as well. His voice was rich. It was so full of wonderful tones, and it was a burnished tone that he managed to produce. His acting was also great as well. He has a certain charm to his role and a certain swagger that really makes him quite attractive to watch every time on stage. And I thought he really did fabulously as Onegin. Singing the role of his great friend Vladimir Lensky is the Czech lyric tenor Aleš Britsein, who I've heard a lot of and managed to really follow him also on Facebook as well. And I really have to say that watching Mr. Britsein as Lensky, I thought he was able to really sell the goods in terms of his voice. He sang really well all throughout the opera, really giving such fine tones all throughout. And when he has to sing softly, he sings it very well. And when he sings the high notes and the middle notes, he sings it with such a clarion technique. Granted, I wasn't too crazy about his acting in the first act, but he managed to warm up in the second and even his death scene, which I really felt like he managed to really build and build and build, and he did it very well. I think he managed to just pace himself from the appearance all the way up to his death, which managed to really build it up all the way through. And his aria, Kuda Kuda, I thought was just sung very gorgeously. He did a fabulous job with this thankless and really wonderful character. And then we have the role of Prince Gremin, sung by a basso I've never heard of before until now. He is Alexei Antonov, a very fine singer. He is an elegant gentleman. He has a very powerful presence on stage, and he's just that. He's very elegant on stage. Granted, he kind of lacks the more rounder, blacker voices of, let's say, Gottlob Frick or Giorgio Tozzi, but that's just basically a nitpick. I thought he was able to be a very, very fine basso singer. He has a very, very rich and well-paced voice that's like molten dark chocolate pouring out of his mouth. He did fabulously in his aria, and he is definitely a basso I would love to hear a lot more of in the near future. The minor roles are also handled very well, with Christoph Schwett singing the role of Monsieur Triquet with such fine burnished tones, and surprisingly, the captain was not really sung by a baritone or a basso, but by a tenor, Karsten Lau, who was able to give such a fine portrayal to this very thankless character. And then we have the likes of Yakov Strytsiak singing Tsaretsky, who gives such a very fine voice, even though his character is very small. And even the acting done by Yuhei Sato as Gyo was very well done. So overall, I am very impressed with the singing found in this opera. I thought everyone managed to give their all, and they really delivered all the goods. And the conducting done by Maestro Nanashi, I thought was just extremely well done. And even the chorus, everyone did their parts fabulously. So overall, I am very impressed with the quality of singing and the quality of this production. It is absolutely excellent. I really love everything about both the production, the singing, and the conducting, and it was just absolutely wonderful to see all these artists really do their thing. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow where I hopefully review Maud an Mozart, which will be shown at the Staatsoper Theater. But just in case tickets are sold out, be sure to tune in for a movie review. But I really hope to make it to Maud an Mozart tomorrow. So until then, good night, everybody.